We should talk about something that many of you heard already, but this is a deep dive for all the companies that want to use Slack. So let's deep dive into that. If you don't know this channel, my name is Christoph Magnussen. I'm the founder of the company called Blackboat, and we deal with new work and digital transformation every day. We have lots of clients who use these tools. We help them to implement it, but more important, it changes the way you work. So I have 4 things to share. Number 1 is what you need to do if you bring such a tool to the company. That's very important, and many companies underestimate that. Number 2 is how you customize it for you personally. What should you do? What is our experience? What is our best practice from customers? How do you use it in the daily usage? What do you actually want to see that Slack is for? And then the 4th thing, how do you continuously improve what you have been doing with analytics and what you see? These 4 things, let's work through them. So, one thing, don't forget to subscribe. We do a lot of these videos and we put a lot of effort in them. I'm a filmmaker at heart. I'm just CEO by profession. So make sure you subscribe and turn on the notifications. First of all, if you look at Slack or any of these kind of tools, many companies come to us and say, we want to replace the email. And that is a mistake in the objective you have on it, because this tool is not just a replacement for an email. It changes the whole way you work. And if you think of the term new work, one of the most important things you can achieve in a company is transparency. To give people the freedom to make their own adult grown-up decisions on if they want to take part in it or not. So this transparency is very important. We are here in our new office studio space, which is an open space, and it's the same. If you move to a new office, you have to take your people along. So when you bring such a tool to the company, you should be aware that it changes the way how your people work, the behavior, the daily culture that you bring to the company. Leadership will become more transparent. So you have to take your leaders along and show them how it's changing in the way you react. And also your people have to then react to what the leaders say. And this is very uncommon for many companies that want to change the way they work. This is why you have to take your people along. You have to tell the story. You have to make clear that the goal is to change the way you work. So, what do you do to customize your Slack account? I need a laptop now. Thank you so much. Well, if you don't know this guy yet, everyone in this channel, this is MP behind the camera, so you will hear him because we just occupy this empty studio space here for the very first video. So as I said, we just share our best practice experience of what to use. There are most likely things you can add. So if you have anything that you're missing, add it in the comments and we will comment on that and share as well the experience. I of course cannot share too many details of customer projects, but I will give you the overview that you need. So first of all, what you see here is in Slack you have the chance to star certain channels. So everything is built in channels, and if you scroll through here you see that most of our channels are public. Just very, very few needed ones. I think 2 that we really need. Yeah, 2 that we really need are just private. And this is the most important thing. You implement this tool to add transparency to the company, in an open space. And this transparency helps you to make your own decisions, to jump into certain work and to bring transparency to the whole company and help people to make your own decisions. If you close all the channels because you say, oh, this is just for a certain group, it becomes difficult. Of course, if you're a company of 1,000 or 5,000 employees, you cannot have every channel public. You will have certain teams. So a typical team is then something between, let's say, 5 to maybe 30 people. That's not very often that team is bigger. And that's a good size in Slack. The productivity decreases if the team gets bigger than that. But the rule of thumb is that at least more than 80% of the channels should be transparent. I used to say 60, 70%, but I would say these days, with experience, 80% plus should be in transparent channels. On the other side, texting people directly in the one-on-one messages down here is the same thing as chopping emails into 90 pieces. So you also don't want to do that. Anything that is related to a project should be in a public channel, and if you want to mention someone, you should only mention the person, not the channel. Everything else explodes it. What we did to like give the channels a certain overview, you see the internal channels for Blackboat with a BB in the front. So you can actually see what our internal channels on top. Anything like fun stuff is very important. Of course, the content stuff that we do is very important. But there's many other things that are internally. Typically, you set up a channel for a certain project and you like archive it whenever you don't need it anymore. And then we have the customer related channels. They are added with a C here. And as you can see, we use just short names for customers so that we can talk about customers in public space, that we can be on the phone in a train and talk about a certain company without everyone knowing who we're talking about. So we have that in Slack, that you're reminded of that. And we actually mirrored that to tools like G Drive, where we have exactly the same initials for any customer. So you can connect these two, since you can also connect it in an app. That's like the key structure to Slack. The 3 channels I think every company needs, we call it Die Lage, fun stuff and good news. Die Lage is actually like your daily briefing for the president. Like Die Lage is from the military. It's a word that in the German army you use Die Lagebesprechung for like what is happening. And we do that every morning before 9 o'clock. The content team is sometimes a bit late, but the rest of the company is before 9 o'clock. And then this channel gives you an overview of what is happening today, which is super important if not everyone is at the same spot, which in most of the companies not everyone is. So in a few words, you say like, what is happening, what am I doing? And you see something funny like Nicole, our colleague here from Hamburg, says she's in Düsseldorf, and then for a workshop for a company. And as you see here, we always use client short names, as I said. So I don't know the company, but I can click in here. I can see the replies, what people said to that, success, how was it? Because I'm a bit late to reply to that. And I can jump to the channel and see what is this project about. And now I remember, okay, I've seen that. That's a pretty cool, interesting client. We see videos, pictures, and so on. So there's already a lot of stuff happening. I go back to Die Lage and see that Antonia, of course, saw that and was just pointing upward with an emoji. So she's doing the same thing. And then I see my colleague Catherine from Berlin, Stay Focused workshop with our new colleague. So this is super fast in like having an overview of what is everyone doing in the company and like how is the company like feeling like today. I highly recommend this channel to everyone and work with that. You also see like 2 times call, I will explain it later, and like I'm on the road, so WhatsApp, and then questionnaires and so on. Everyone in the company is in that channel and you cannot leave that channel actually. You have to stay in that channel. Fun stuff is super important to laugh with your colleagues. I mean, what you want to do in office, you want to cry, you want to celebrate, you want to laugh, all these different things. So fun stuff is very important to like be reminded of, that all this problem solving that you usually do with these kinds of tools like emails and writing and typing, also you need fun stuff. And good news is a bit different. Good news is something that is project related, that is not funny, where you don't make jokes, but you say like, we're in the press, we have a success with a new client and so on, that you share as well. Of course, there are other examples that you find here, like KPIs. We have something for the managing directors. We have jobs and so on. There are many channels you typically can use in a company, but the intensity that we use it in, I would say these channels are the most important ones for everyone. And then, of course, the client channels that you actually work in. The other customization that you can do, I would say it's more related to anything you add in the background, like which apps do you want to add to Slack, which integrations do you want to like give it a bit of your own color and not the typical Slack color and so on. That's important. You can also like add your own emojis and GIFs and stuff like that, but we will talk about that in a second. This is actually the most important stuff you can do. Anything in the background, I would say it's easy to click through the settings and it's pretty self-explanatory what you can do there. Second part, like how do you use it in your daily work? And this is something that like if you're a bit too stuck to the serious business email thing, then it might feel uncomfortable in the beginning. But if you know that there are certain people, for example, in WhatsApp, they always start with a long introduction and so on. But if you know these tools, I would say you never feel disconnected. So you don't have to always start with a very formal, hello, my dear friend, how are you? And so on. So you are short. That's the most important thing. but to add emotion to your shortness, you need emojis. So I'm a big fan of emojis and GIFs and reactions, which I will explain in a second, that it helps you to like very fast, but still give it a little bit of emotion to what you wanted to say. So emojis you put in here, and you can, of course, like Antonia did that in Lage this morning, just add 2 emojis to initiate what you're doing, which is quite funny here. My team is using the fire emoji a lot. I don't know why, but I use it a lot, so that's maybe why. And you can add your own emojis. So MP is building continuous emojis with me being angry all the time. I don't know why. So he suggested, why don't we like build me being happy? So now we have a Mac happy emoji, which is, I think, a great innovation at Blackboat. And then you have reactions, which is the emojis below a certain post that help you to like quickly to react to something. Here we did a questionnaire that we want to make a new G Suite versus Office 365 movie. We have the top movies on YouTube already, but we want to stay with that. And we were asking who wants to be on the G Suite side in the company and who wants to be on the Office 365 side. So we added 2 emojis for that. And now you can react to the post with G Suite or Office, our own emoji. Or we can react with Mac. Thinking, oh my God, like that. I don't know if you think it's funny. I think it's funny. It adds this fun stuff to the company. Second, super important thing. If you know Blackboat on the other videos, or you can look that up, we explain that the more emotional the topic, the more synchronous the communication. And the asynchronous communication like this is very difficult to bring up emotions. And I was talking to Tessa, my PA, this morning, and asked her, hey, like, why don't you share a bit more of what you're doing currently, because there's a lot of stuff to do. As you can see, we use a YouTube integration here to share videos. Because in Slack, like 2 things that are not so good, you cannot have voice messages like in WhatsApp, which I'm a big fan of, because it indicates the emotion of the other person. And the second thing is video. We use a lot of video to like indicate like, how do I feel about a project? Did something go wrong? Is something good happening? And it's so easy to just take your smartphone camera. Mine is laying over there now, but you can just quickly record a video and then upload it and share that. But there is no good video player in Slack. If you use it on the desktop, it's pretty okay. But if you're on the road, which most of the people are all the time, it's not as good. So we have a private YouTube channel that is hidden. Nothing super crazy is on there, like internal stuff. And as I said, if we talk about client projects, we always talk about the initials, but not the client name. So nothing crazy can happen. So people are taught like how to use it. And now I could play, even if I'm on the road, this video from Tessa to like get an idea of what she's currently working on. And she did that in like, of course, phone mode, so because most of the people watch it on the phone, and now everyone could see and then react to that if they want. I think it's a pretty nice thing. Thank you, Tessa, for making that video. If you have stuff like, let's say, I write a client name instead of using the client initial, let me think of a name that is public. Think of something, my muesli. Make sure you always use the customer names for client, and here we have the list of short names for the customer. So we use the Slack bot to help us with certain things. Like you can tell the Slack bot if you type certain words or stuff like that, it can send you a document, and that's sometimes helpful for people if they forgot something, and even I forget it from time to time to not mention a client. This is like everyday use. What we use a lot are like GIFs in reactions, like of course you know that from many other apps. You can use it in Microsoft Teams as well, but we use a lot of GIFs to react to things. What else to say about the use? I think you will definitely see the difference if you use it in daily communication, that the transparency is changing a lot in the behavior of your people. That's definitely one big thing. And the other thing is you will recognize, like, if you don't replace email, but you start working here in the project, that after a vacation, it's just a few clicks to like scroll through a project to get an overview, because we make sure in like every day that we never give tasks in Slack. So we never give you a task and you have to like run after that. And the second thing is, if there is a 7 indicating up here, like a small number, in this example here's a 1, I know for sure I was mentioned in that channel. And it's not that you're mentioned all the time as a channel, but you're mentioned as a person. So I know if I don't have a lot of time today, I look at these 7 threads that are unread, which is loading now. And now I can check, how was it? Give a minute, I have to eat something. Okay, good. Then our new colleague was working on something. He was asking me, can you give me feedback? So you see that's a link to a Google Doc. We never upload hard documents to Slack. We always use links to Google or anything external. That this is not the source, but this is just bringing the communication together. Big mistake many companies do. They load the actual content in here, and this is then the main source. We always make sure this is just the communication tool that glues everything together. So I opened that for giving Friedrich later some feedback. There was a good request that came on Facebook actually. And here, that's a good example. A speaking request came in on Facebook on my page. I didn't see that. MP saw it. MP posted it to Slack if Tessa has seen it. Tessa was taking a phone call with them. I mean, this is the power of Slack in a team. This is how it's usually working. Okay, what do I have to add here, like for the daily usage? One thing is integrations. So we integrate Asana for the tasks. So if there are tasks related to a project and that are actually completed, you would see it here in an update. Let me see, there's something maybe here for a certain client. Ja, ein Asana-Task. Haben wir Asana gelöscht? Nein. Da. Here you see that like if there's something related to this project of GIE and it has been completed, then I see it here and I could go to Asana, because Asana is the tool where we actually then give us the tasks. And for the content team, we have an integration that is called Socials, which indicates me on Frame.io, our tool, if there is a new upload. I don't know why it's not loading here in this case, but usually you see the picture of the video here and it shows you, okay, there's something new. That's what it's for. These are the integrations. And the other things that are important is we have 2, I would say, levels of escalating stuff. One is we have a WhatsApp group for the whole company. So everyone at Blackboat can be reached with like one message in WhatsApp, because WhatsApp is a very personal, very private tool. We never misuse this group. This is used for, I have lost my device, like you call someone else and they text the group, or there has been a breach, or email is offline or whatever. Then we have a channel that is in a completely different world. WhatsApp is working with Facebook, Slack is running on the Amazon servers, Google is working on the Google server. So we always have something that we can keep on communicating, which we think is very important. And there were times when we had to use that. And the other thing is our 2x call rule. So whenever it's a real emergency, you would never ever go through this channel. You would always call 2 times in a row, always. And this helps you to like free yourself from looking all the time everywhere. Chapter 4. How do you continuously improve Slack, and what do you do with the analytics? We talk every 8 weeks about if we use this tool in the right way. Put improvements to the tool, we live that, we breathe that, and we challenge it. One thing we do is we show the numbers. Let me see the numbers, the analytics. All right, so if you are the owner of a channel and if you are the guy who actually like looks at the communication, I always liked G Suite and also Slack and other tools that give me certain statistics of how are my people communicating. Not because I say like I want to control it, but to me, the amount of communication, especially the transparent communication, indicates to me how healthy the company is. Communication is the glue that keeps everything together, like that makes a team strong. So looking at statistics is super important. And in Slack you can see like how many members you have, of course, in this team. Like this is always looking at one team. And then you can see how active this week the people are. The public channels, as I said, we have 101 public channels. And you can also see how public and how private the communication is. That's what I told you, like you want more than 80% of communication to be public, better more than 90%. So we're usually not too often below this 80% rule, as I said, which is super important. It indicates to us like how open are we in the company and how easy it is to get information. The rest is direct messages, private channels, as you see, super low. So this is just people chatting at certain days, which usually is fine. In like tech support, you don't want to like deal with certain people in like public channels, because you say like, hey, this is too much going back and forth. So you say, hey, let's take this offline to private conversation. The other thing is, you, of course, and this is something people discuss a lot, is of course which are the most active channels, but also like who are the most active members. And I know this is politically not correct or anything, but still, if you say, you know what, we want to have a certain ranking of what we're doing and we want to like help people to like get better, you can say who was very active in the last 30 days. For example, I was on vacation, so luckily it's not me being the number one, but for example, Friedrich is super active, like he's new, Andy is always very fast, I know that, Niels beat me definitely over the time. I was on vacation, just had like 134 messages, and you can like see where should we like help with more communication in certain teams. And as I said, like if you want to know like what is like a new very interesting channel, you also can see, okay, is there something happening that I maybe missed out that is important to me? This looks like a new client channel, this is something from the website, so there's something happening. So this always helps to indicate it, and we share that throughout the meetings, not too often publicly enough in the company, but we want to like bring more frequency in it, but we also share our monthly numbers, so stuff like that. It's definitely interesting because communication is what makes a company interesting and good and fast and successful. What else to add to Slack? Integrations, as I said, there are many integrations, so you have to configure the apps that you want to integrate. There are so many apps, it's very hard to like go through all of them, but almost everything is possible to integrate to Slack. It's more important to like think if you need that, to like not give it an overkill. But this is best practice from, I would say, if you like boil it down to the most important things that we've seen with clients, starting with Slack. Microsoft Teams is a bit different in the settings, so I now think of we should add a second video related to Microsoft Teams, because that's the other big tool at the moment in the workplace in many companies that decided to like work with Microsoft in that case. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Any questions you would like to add, put it to the comments below. And I'd be thrilled, really thrilled, if you subscribe to this channel here, turn on the notifications down there, because YouTube changes all the time and you miss out a video if you don't turn it on. And if you're not convinced yet, there is another video recommended by the artificial intelligence of YouTube that you should watch. Thanks guys, and I see you next week for sure.